Hey, I'm joined by Tim Flynn from Winter Services up in Boston, Mass area, Cambridge to be exact. And he's a longtime customer and a longtime friend at this point. And I asked Tim to join me today to share with you because in COVID-19 there are some troubled and challenging times. And Tim's been around for a while with me, and we've been through some challenging times together. And Tim, I wanted to thank you for sharing some time with us today. I know it's busy.
It's my pleasure to be here, Al. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, what I wanted to share, Tim, was because I don't think there's anybody much else. I've got a lot of great contractors out there, but you really embraced, when I always talk about the 7 powers, 7 systems. And today I'd really like to focus on the operating manuals, because that's really the backbone, as I see it, of everything that works out. And would you share a little bit about, how they've helped you in good times to get to where you've grown your company phenomenally and hopefully under control in general? And then share about how it's been helpful in these times. What have you done to, make them better fit as you go?
Well, it's always like the good times, you never really get judged by what's going on. It's always the bad times how you get judged, right? So I would say that in the good times, we're looking at people that are operating off of a script or off of a procedure, right? And they're doing really well at it if they follow the script. And if they're struggling with a close rate, we change the script a little bit, we re-educate, we retrain. But nowadays with COVID-19, it's we have to kind of add a little bit more to the script, and we're adding we have 2 people coming together, right? So we have CSR and the client, both of which we care about, right? So then we have the CSR asking the client, no one here is showing symptoms. My people aren't sick. Is anyone showing symptoms in your house? Obviously, we want those answers all to be no, right? So once we learn that, then our technician has to have a level of comfort talking to the people. Are you okay with me? I'm okay with you. And, we had a brief conversation prior to this about PPE and how valuable that is these days. So, with our systems in place right now, for as many calls that we can get into their house, we're doing extremely well.
Yeah. And, if my dad used to say, a funny thing, Tim, bless the slow times. And I looked at him and I go, what? He goes,
God bless the slow times. He's right.
Yeah. Sorry, Tim. Yeah, just, it really speaks to is, all boats rise when the tide goes up. But when the tide's going out like this is where we really find out what you can and can't do. And how do you manage and tighten up your systems? And so spend a little second here to, when you said PPE and general safety basics, share what, your experience with what the manuals already had. What have you done since?
How fortuitous was it of you to have a box in every truck that had rain gear, a spare uniform, set of boots, a respirator, gloves, right? You had all that. I was calling you Al Fauci the other day because my people are like, well, we have gloves, we have nitrile gloves. We didn't have enough N95 masks. We had to resort now, and no one does, right? So, we stood a better shot at making it through this with what we had in stock. And even like maybe 6 weeks ago, we were reordering to get our stuff. Obviously, we couldn't get possibly near enough stuff, but we had to do a little bit of editing, a little bit of digging, and still now here in Boston and Cambridge area, it's day by day. Like people just aren't allowing us in their homes, which is understandable.
Yeah, and it does, like we were talking about, this is a time or a moment where you have to really be visual with your customers. And so one of the things, years and years ago, Tim and I moving everything to email and digital and getting them on the list so that Tim has the ability to communicate with the staff. It was another thing, as you remember, the CSRs in their script about capturing the emails, right? Imagine not having the ability to speak to your customers in mass today, not even doable. And when we went through, from paper to digital, it's, much easier to, as I always think, it's much easier to edit than it is to create. And even in PPE, your guys can adjust to what higher levels they now need to do. There are people, Tim, that out there, they never had anything in the way of PPE. So it's really starting from nothingness to get going here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, getting people to sign, remotely or with a finger or a hand.
Contactless, yes.
Nobody wants to touch a piece of paper anymore. I don't even want to enter my PIN number into the machine anymore, right? So, people are, this world is going to change again. You got to get out in front of it. And we're going to have to be able to do things that are more hands-free, more touch-free, like DocuSign, for example, or
Exactly.
yeah, we could, or Zoom. Look how many people are on Zoom, for God's sake.
Yeah, and that's, what we've done in a number of places is they've edited the CSR, dispatcher, and tech manual to reflect the things we're just talking about, this contactless, delivery of service, but collecting the money. Tim and I, many years ago, Tim was already a flat rate contractor, but the money wasn't coming in. So we had to tweak up the scripts and actually educate in the tech manual. You don't leave unless you've collected money. So it really made a big difference to Tim.
What about a point you brought up, before this conversation was going on, that talked about shaking hands? We trained guys not to shake hands with our plumbers.
Yes.
Years and years ago, right? And now that's becoming the norm.
Right. Yeah, that's really great stuff. So, the other thing that I'm kind of always reminded about, Tim, is, when you get under stress and you're busy, like, I remember when I was a tech, I thought I didn't have time to clean up my truck because I was too busy. And then I'd be tripping all over the mess all day long, and I ended up wasting more time and ruining more equipment. So the same thing kind of goes here. How do you keep them using the good systems, the manuals and things that you have right now, so they don't just throw it all away?
You never come off of them. That's how once you're in, you never should come off. It's like every day people wake up the exact same way. It's a system. Every day people do what they did the day before, every step along the way. It's a very repetitive procedure. Once you train your people to be in that procedure, they generally don't step off of it. It's the new ones, the old guys got to teach the new guys how to be in that system. So it's very repetitive, but you got to get into it first, and then you can stay there.
Yeah, a lot easier to lean on your systems. That I definitely think is true. Anything else you want to share before we wrap up as regard to systems, manuals, or anything of that nature?
Yeah, world's going to change. So I think that the more we get in front of protecting our people more, get more PPE, pay our bills before they're due, and put some money aside from now on. I think
that's great advice. And
I think you all
those
need
who
to
are
be
out there
saving
listening,
10% of every deposit.
Yeah. You got to take a little bit off for rainy days. My dad trained us really early. Actually, what he used to say is, it's really easy to take money out. It's really hard to leave it in or put it back. So, that's part of what people are going to learn here about, and the other part of this too, Tim, is there are a lot of companies who are not going to make it. And so, Tim knows about acquisition and things of that nature. This is going to be a time to start thinking about it. It sounds weird because we're in survival mode, but if you're got to put it on your mind that, there's going to be some great opportunities out there. And people like you who have systems are going to be the people who are going to be able to take advantage of it.
It's going to be interesting. That's for sure.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate you sharing the time with us.
My pleasure. It's good to see your face. Stay safe.
Stay safe.